Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is a bright and shiny Wednesday morning. It's not raining today, even though it's rainy season. That's always a good sign here in Guam if it isn't raining during rainy season. So we have a nice day today. I'm going to try to draw together for you this topic. I think the topic of nation states is a difficult one to understand, but it's a key topic for understanding Europe. So let's briefly go back to the history a little bit, just brush on the major history of Europe. We briefly looked at where in the world do people come from. So where did we say the oldest human remains have been found?
Africa.
Africa, good. And then we have lots of projects underway that are doing genetic tracing. So we know really the oldest civilizations are found where? China. There's also very old civilizations found in this area of the world, which is North Africa, Southwest Asia. We have Mesopotamia, we have the Nile Valley, Indus Valley, these areas, India. So these are areas of very old civilizations. And these are what helped to form the civilizations in Europe. So again, to refresh our memories, what was the first ancient civilization that we talk of for Europe? Greek. Yes, the Greek civilization. So if we're going to look at a general time frame, we're looking at before Christ, right? Because we know that that civilization was a Mediterranean civilization and brought us philosophy, the very beginnings of government and art, and just a wonderful blossoming of civilization there. Then came the empire of the Roman. No, but it was a very good time for Europe. This is when Europe became very, very wealthy, and it was the beginning of big change. And this change that was to follow was known as what? The Industrial Revolution. And there was also agriculture, there was just better food, there were great ideas, there was a huge blossoming of ideas that came following the darker period of the medieval times. So Europe just flowered at that point. Of course, the Ottoman Empire suffered because during World War, was it World War I or World War II? World War I, when the Ottoman Empire was defeated. So now, this sets the stage for what Europe is like today. Okay, so what do we have now? We have all these different nationalities in this little space. We have Christianity of 3 different kinds: Protestant, Eastern Orthodox, and Roman Catholicism. We have all these different languages, and we'll go into the different language groups, but many different languages, many different cultures, many different peoples, religions, and it's getting more so today because of the connection, right? There are people that are coming in. There's so much immigration. So I ask you this question: are there any pure nation states left? So a nation state, we know that a state is a political boundary, right? So are there any pure nation states where we don't have any other nations that have come to live there?
Yes.
It's hard to find. At one time you might have, take Japan for an example, and again we're going outside of Europe right now, but I like to go to Japan because that's often been used as a very pure example of a nation state, but there's immigrants there too. There's diversity there too. So our understanding of if I ask you for an example of nation state, it's very hard to find, isn't it? Especially in Europe. Because really, if you look at every single place, there are populations that have come in, and there isn't pure nationality that exists anywhere. We are all in flux, and so it's even increasing today. There is more and more immigration, not less and less, and that's due to the connectedness of the world. So I hope that helps a little bit with understanding the concept of nation state, and that Europe is so very, very important in this concept and the developing of this concept. So we have so many peoples coming in to Europe. And what's happening to the population of Europe? It's certainly shifting. Is Europe's population increasing or decreasing? Decreasing. It's decreasing, right. And we can give some thought as to why many places have decreasing populations. Why is that? Why is the population of Europe decreasing? Is it because there's a higher death rate? No, that is one of the places that has one of the highest quality of life, healthcare, medicine, very long-lived people there. So what is happening to the population? Are people leaving? Sometimes, but not enough to account for the dropping of
Probably giving birth later in life.
Yes, that's one of the things. It's lifestyle choices that are happening. Getting married later. Having fewer children. Why would people have fewer children? Economics. Yes, children are very expensive. Yes, I see some agreement, some nods of the heads. Yes, as you contemplate your own families. Right, so this is what's happening. They call it, it is known as fertility rate. So fertility rate is going down in Europe, and mostly due to the lifestyle choices of people in having smaller families now, smaller family size. So what is this going to do with structure? For instance, taxes. Less tax money going in. How about labor? There can be labor shortages. And so we start thinking about the jobs that the immigrants, the people that are coming in, are going to have. Many of those will be not so skilled type jobs. So you can see the kinds of things. There's also culture clash when you have populations that are incoming. And many times the immigration into Europe will come from places that were colonized. So we can take a for instance here. You know, if we look at the map here, we see how close that North Africa is. And we know that places that were under Ottoman rule during the Ottoman Empire were surrendered to Europeans during World War I, after World War I. And so often, people living in places that had been colonized will go to that country. Why would they do that? Why would they immigrate to a country that had colonized there previously? Makes a lot of sense, really. They speak the language. So people here that speak French might immigrate to France. So these are some of the patterns that we're seeing with immigration and why that might occur. And perhaps some places that had been colonized, we're going to get into this a lot more as we get into the World War history and what happened during World War II. It essentially split Europe, and it needed to rebuild. And so when Europe was split and it had to be rebuilt, this shows us the way that Europe is now united, the European Union, the Euro, the Eurozone, the way that it's economically integrated is due to the way that it was just split and fractured during and following World War II. So I hope that gives you a better look at the state of Europe today, and we will look at these things in a little bit